Hello everyone, Groskamp here from Team Infinity, and today I want to talk about my setup for the IF14-2. For the last couple of weeks I've been testing and practicing at several tracks in the Netherlands, and I found a very nice basic setup for the IF14-2 Infinity touring car. And today I'm going to show you what's under the body shell, what setup I'm using. Talk a bit about which option parts I use to have that setup, and yeah, if you have a few minutes, come and have a look and I will show you my car. So first of all, a few basic things. For example, the battery, it's a very high power Orca battery, it's a 6390. And this battery is fairly heavy. I use this battery because of the big track that we use in Holland, like for example Heemstede. You use a lot of current, and that's therefore I need a big battery to make the 5 minutes without power loss. When I use this battery, I move it as much in as possible. So on the screw that stops the battery, it's only a 0.5 of a shim. Another thing is the horizontal body post in the rear. It's more stable on the high speed track, and yeah, I like it a lot. Furthermore, I always use the top deck flex bridge. It's with the bearing, and it gives a bit more flex in the rear. You have a little bit more traction, and also a bit more rear that the rear wants to rotate. So that's nice as well. I cut the top deck here. Also gives a little bit more flex. For me it also gives a bit more steering. This is an Orca motor, 4.5, Orca speed controller, OEM 1, Sanwa servo. So the weight balance is it's quite good. In the middle I have 22.5 gram. Here I have 5 gram. Here I have 5 gram. Another thing I still use is the regular C-hub suspension. It gives a lot of traction, and it still have enough steering, but at least with the C-hub suspension I feel it has a lot of stability, and it has a lot of on-power traction. So it works on several tractions, low traction, medium traction, high traction. So here's a more detailed shot about my rear suspension, and as you might see, it's the roll center is in a high position, and I start to run this and it feels like the car has a lot of corner speed, and it's very stable, and the rear rotation is very nice. Also I make the rear a little bit wider, also therefore it feels more easy to drive, but still have a lot of steering. The diff in the rear is up position, and I use the aluminium eccentric. Now looking at the front suspension, again the same. The spool is in up position with the aluminium eccentric. Because of the high roll center, I also use more shims here. So instead of the standard 2mm, this is a 3mm shim that raises up the link, so you have a little bit less camber change, so the link is quite straight. Also I made the suspension pin a little bit wider, and therefore I also use more shims here. Therefore the camber link length stay the same. So I really changed the setup from using 186.5 width in the front. I now normally try 187 or even 188, and for me it feels really nice. The bump steer shim here is 2mm. If you like to have more steering, you can go up to 3mm. And now looking at the flex, as you can see, the motor mount screws is only 2 screws. Gives a lot of flex, and I feel it just gives more steering and more traction. Also the T-plate, I remove it completely, and also for this I feel the car has more traction and more steering. Because of the wider front width of the car, I also move out the shock position more. So now it's a 0.8 out, and in the lower arm I also use 0.8 out. For the suspension I use the super hard suspension arm, the one with the pink dot. also in the front. It gives more traction, more corner speed, so overall it's just better. As you can see, the differential have the aluminium outdrive, just make it more lightweight. And the diff now has 7K diff. It's a bit depends on the traction. If it's low traction you can go up to 5. If it's high traction you can go up to 10. If you feel the car is oversteering you can go a little bit lighter. If your car pushes a little bit you can go a little bit harder differential. For the Ackerman plate I use the option one, the 8mm. It's more narrow, and for me it gives more steering, especially in a tight corner. So as you can see, my basic setup has changed a lot, especially the higher roll center, the more flex in the rear, the wider track width. All those things made the car faster and better, and I think overall the performance is better. So try for yourself, and I hope this was helpful for you, and see you in my next video.